Introducing first, known to be a swift wizard in footwork techniques. With 15 years in the game, his record stands at an incredible 39 competition titles. This three-time IBE footwork solo champion, two-time defending single kings champion, Roxrite Career University champion, hip-hop session solo champion, reigning Battle Supreme one-on-one champion, hailing from Helsinki, Finland. Give it up for Focus!
Okay, so it's my pleasure today to be speaking to a legend, Bboy Focus from Flomo, from the legendary Flomo crew. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah. Thanks for asking me on board. I'm doing good, enjoying the summer, getting some work done, but keeping a balance at the same time. Trying to find some time off as well. I'm all good, man. How are you? Thanks for asking.
No, thank you very much for taking the time, man, and that's on behalf of me and on behalf of all of us. You know, we're really thankful that you've taken a bit of time out and you can share with us, you know, drop some gems on us and give us something to think about and sort of share your story with us is sort of the main goal of this.
Hope so, man. I'll do my best. Keep everybody inspired.
So I have a bunch of notes here, and how we usually do this is we just kind of go through your story, and anything I bring up that could be incorrect, you just kind of fact check me.
Yeah, let's
if
go.
I have anything wrong, but I mean, the idea is to get as much from you as possible. So obviously from Flomo crew, and we're just really interested in the kind of rise of Flomo crew and how you guys came to become such a prominent crew, and from, I mean, what would be considered in terms of global hip hop a relatively obscure part of the world, from Helsinki, Finland. So can you kind of tell us about the origins of your crew and sort of the long-term rise of Flomo?
Sure, man. When I got into breaking, there wasn't too many doing it. 80s, Finland had a beautiful scene. There was a lot of old school heads that was amazing. One of them is my teacher called Mikko Algren, who started teaching me around spring 95. But around his time, like ever since majority of the people quit in the mid to late 80s, there wasn't really anybody around. To my knowledge, there was two b-boys in the country that held it down throughout the dark years. One who was just training by himself, called Jesse 13. And another one, my teacher, who thought, like, if there's nobody else around, I'm gonna just keep teaching for anybody who's willing to learn. So one day maybe there's gonna be a new scene around. So I was one of his earlier students when he kept going as far as teaching, and little by little more seeds were planted, and in other cities too, like the scene started to arise and emerge. Slowly, of course. Around 97, you have Balladier 97, Run DMC, it's like that music video dropped, everybody started to break. So this was a couple years earlier than that. My first crew at the time, Midpoint Rockers, I formed with my teacher, and we rocked for a couple of years, entered all the battles, and won a few over here too. And little by little, started noticing like in general, people grow up and find other priorities in life. So suddenly we didn't have the full crew anymore. There was only a couple who were active. Another crew in Helsinki called Savage Feet, who you can see in big music videos from Finland, such as the Freestyler by the Bone Punk MCs, and all of the other videos by the band too. So that's another hardcore crew that had a little bit similar situation. You had a couple of hardcore heads who really wanted to push breaking hard and go all out. Then a few who went on to other directions in life. And us two, being two of the main crews at the time, we're like, shit, we're not ready to give up. We still have a lot to gain. Nobody really traveled outside of the country to battle and such. So we started going little by little to events together. and noticed like, hey, what we're doing is great. We have a good chemistry, ill skills, and good people involved. So might as well unite and join forces. So that way, on April 2002, we formed Flowmo Crew, uniting the two crews.
Mm-hmm.
Flow-mo as in flow motion. Everybody else was breaking in slow-mo, so we always had an ill flow when we rocked the cyphers. So we're like, hey, that makes sense. We call ourselves Flow-mo, and the rest is history ever since, man.
There you go. So you've basically read off about 70% of my notes there, which is cool. That at least makes me happy that they were accurate.
All right. We can hang up now. We're
actually,
done with the interview.
okay,
See you next time.
yeah, see you. Speak to you next year. So actually, well, something that I didn't know is from how you described the scene and the situation in the 80s, and that actually a lot of people were doing it in the 80s, and then it dipped off. So actually, that's a pretty typical European American story. I mean, that happened in lots of other countries in the West.
Sure,
I was
man.
actually aware of. And then, so shout out to the couple of guys that did keep it going.
There's a few of the lonely and the stubborn ones.
You got to think how much
Second to
in the
none,
last,
Actual Force, Battle Squad, and these guys.
yeah,
Maurizio and all of these guys, man. If it wasn't for them, a lot of people wouldn't be doing what we do today. They re-inspired the world. So European b-boy history is beautiful too.
and how many of those old school heads are still kind of visible in the scene? I mean, do you still live in Helsinki?
I'm in Helsinki, yeah. We get every now and then, if there's dope jams like Flomo anniversaries, for example, we get the 80s heads to come up. They don't really train no more, but in a good moment you might see a couple of them rock.
Okay.
So they're still around, man. Electrodynamics is the name of the main crew in Helsinki at the time. Some of the people from that crew still throw events and are involved in the scenes in that way too. And they got a dope style from the 80s.
So, and before those two crews joined, before Midpoint Rockers and Savage Feet joined, I mean, were you guys rivals at all?
Oh hell yeah! We had mad beef. We had
Oh,
mad
for
beef,
real?
man. Yeah. First
So
battle.
how did you end up coming together then?
First times I started coming to Helsinki, like 90s scene was different what it is today. Like right now the scene is super friendly and welcomes everybody and it's really open arms and it's open for everybody. 90s scene was beef, straight up. So first times we would come to Helsinki, we would just straight get this, that, and nobody joined the battles, but we had people shouting stupid shit on the sidelines, and that started off rivalry and beef. But at the same time, after we met up a few times and battled and ciphered together, we realized like, hey, we have a similar approach, and we complement each other as well. Like Helsinki was a lot of style, more style than us guys.
Really?
So Helsinki was really all about foundation and deep into that flavor as well. So I learned a lot coming to Helsinki. I was going back and forth every week.
Okay, because yeah, you're from a village. I mean, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it begins with an M, right?
Muurame, that's it. Yeah.
I'm glad you said it. I
And
didn't say
we
it.
had 5,000 people when I moved there when I was 6, and I moved out by the time I was 18 to the next city, Jyväskylä, and 2006 was the year I moved to Helsinki. Because I was going back and forth every week. Already that time I was traveling a lot more, so it was 4 hours to get to the airport, which after you come from wherever you come from, it's like another 4 hours in a bus, then it's not gonna work.
Wow.
So I had to move.
So really, you guys in your early days, and well, not even just in your early days, but throughout the history of Flomo, you guys have traveled a lot. You've been very present at jams like all over the world. I guess maybe that comes from coming from a small country and you just kind of always had to travel. You knew you were always going to have to travel and you kind of got used to it early on. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's right, man. Like there wasn't too much going on, so to search for any action, you would have to travel a long distance. So that was nothing new. And all of our inspirations came really outside of the country as well. So to meet up with Storm, to meet up with Maurizio, to meet up with any of the New York heads or whatever, then hey, that wouldn't happen if you stay home. We didn't have no Zoom, no Skype that at that time, so just had to save your money and hop on the plane.
Yeah, yeah. And well, what was the first big memorable trip outside of Finland then?
2000 was the year when we first time battled together with Savage Feet. 2 years before Flomo, but we just united the same people and did our first battle together. That was Scandinavian Battle of the Year in Sweden, Gothenburg. And that was the first time that we saw guys like the Atomic Bboys from Norway. I'm not sure if you heard of them. Ew, nasty Norwegian B-boys. They joined their posse with Moves Per Minute, which was Freeze's crew before Ghost Crew. Mm-hmm. So all of the illest B-boys in Sweden, the illest B-boys in Norway in one single crew that was called the Nasty Nine. And they won that year. They went to Battle of the Year, to the big stage that year as well after winning in Sweden. Seeing them go against Natural Effects from Denmark, Sonic and these guys in the final was just crazy. A crazy experience, man. First time traveling abroad and seeing the older heads go at it, that was really priceless.
Was it your first time outside of Finland in general, for like hip-hop related or not?
For hip-hop related, yes. I have been traveling earlier, just for family vacations, but hip-hop related, that was my first time.
Okay. And from the start, you guys were traveling as a crew, or even, I mean, before Flomo, you guys were traveling as Midpoint rockers together?
On and off. I did a lot of solo trips afterwards. I connected pretty nice with the Swedish people on that trip and afterwards. So I was going back and forth to Sweden by myself and with the crew. So every month I was in Sweden just learning from them, because I felt like where we kind of restarted the scene in the mid to late 90s, Sweden had been on it for a few years already. So I would go back and forth to Sweden to just get re-inspired and train with them, because I knew they were ahead of us at the time.
And how is the scene now in Finland?
Scene is ill, kind of underground and small, but dope. So I would say late 90s, the scene was a lot bigger than it is right now. It's a small scene, and even the smaller cities that, like 90s, every city had their own crews and own parties and own rivalries within small cities too. And now everything is in Helsinki, which is dope for us if we live here, but at the same time a pity for the smaller regions and more distant parts of the country. It's a big country, it's a long country, and there's a lot of forest in the north. So if there's nothing going on over there, then I hope that something like that will be back one day. I guess we need a new Bomb Funk MCs for that, or come back, either way.
Something else to kickstart things a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's crazy at the time. Like one music video could start a whole scene throughout the whole world. I'm not sure if that's possible with today's day and age.
Probably not, because I don't know, the nature of music videos was a bit different then, I suppose, with everyone watching the TV and watching MTV. And now, I don't even know if MTV still shows music videos, actually.
Not really. But then again, the kids, they learn dances from other things. So whatever keeps people dancing and moving is dope.
Right. So you're saying that the scene in Finland has become more kind of centralized than within Helsinki. And does that mean that, because I have a bigger kind of question that I wanted to ask you, was that I suppose in the early days when you guys were traveling a lot and sort of in the pre-internet days, you guys were really internationally, you were representing the kind of Finnish style. Mm-hmm. And in jams of old, of 20 years ago, 18, 15 years ago, it felt like when you go back and watch them, it felt like there was more, the different countries had more distinctive styles. And it feels like some of that has been a little bit lost.
That's lost, straight up. That's not the same. With the globalization, with the time of internet, that's disappeared completely. So if you see a person right now, you can't tell what country or city he or
Yeah.
she is from. Even then, like Finland, Sweden, and Norway, even between these close countries, you could tell which country you're from based on the style. And you could separate the city, like this is Jyväskylä style where I grew up. This is style from Oulu, which is more up north, or Helsinki had a different kind of approach too. So even within countries, you could tell by
Yeah.
the style that the person breaks, which is dope. Times changed, and I think it's great that there's more knowledge and more vocabulary for people right now, which is great. But of course, originality sometimes suffers with the process. So good and bad in both.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would maybe if the newer generations watched a little bit more older footage, that maybe could be the only way to bring that back and for them to maybe understand, well, look how different these two crews look from two different places. And to, because I don't know how much old footage a lot of the young guys watch.
I don't think much, man. A lot of people just try to be the next BC1 champion and try to look like whoever wins. Then next year, a lot of people look the same. Uh, so yeah, definitely educating people on earlier years of breaking and different regions of breaking, different styles and approaches of breaking, different decades. So there's so many different eras that we have. Even though breaking is still a young dance, then even though every single decade has a different kind of approach.
Yeah, different eras, different scenes. Yeah.
For sure, man.
Well, something that I think you do really well is your YouTube channel, the B Girl and B Boy Dojo YouTube channel. That the thing that you have, the knowledge drop. I think that that's a really cool feature that you guys have because the channel is about much more than just showing you how to do moves. It's like it's one of the only channels I know where you're breaking down battles that you were in and that your crew were in and giving the story behind them and explaining what it was like to be there. And I think that's really ill actually.
Dope, man. Thank you. I tried to record that. Yeah, the experience, the emotions at the time, but also the philosophy behind moves, not just moves, but the approach and the philosophy and history behind all of this. I do my best to record it so that hopefully it inspires people that see it. Because
Yeah,
everybody is doing tutorials right now, especially during the lockdown. Everybody
yeah.
and their mama is an online teacher. So I try to
So
search for a little bit
really,
different approach.
and that's another thing is sort of related, but I mean, you guys were really ahead of the curve with all of that in terms of your actual, um, not just the YouTube channel, but your actual online B-boy dojo. Everyone is kind of rushing to have some kind of version of that at the minute.
Hmm.
So can you give a bit of a history on that? What made you guys set that up? I know before you had your own, and I think it does still run your own physical dance school.
Yeah, yeah, man. Cypher, the actual physical studio, just turned 10 years and is still operating. We had the best years ever since. So there's two separate um, organizations, two separate businesses, if you wanna say. So I got Cypher that I operate with Vortex from the crew, the Flow Mode Dance School, as you can tell, which is based on different street styles, not just breaking, but based on different street style dances. And on the other side, there's another company that I operate, the B-Boy and Bigger Dojo, with my team that focuses more on online education and really teaching about the approach, not just the moves. And that's been going on for 5 years right now. So yeah, like you said, once I started it with AT 5 years ago. There was no competition. Nobody was doing it, which compared to today's situation seems crazy because there's a lot of stuff going on online. But back then there was nothing, man.
What gave you the idea to do it?
The idea came from a couple of different things. First of all, traveling a lot, traveling so much that um, at some point we thought like maybe there could be a better way of reaching people than sitting on a plane, suffering jet lag, and which is we love traveling. That's no problem. But at the same time, it can get kind of overwhelming sometimes. If you travel intercontinentally for every single weekend, then sometimes there's just too much to handle.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. The year that we released the dojo, I spent 200 days on the road that year, so just the numbers just went up, which was the opposite that was meant to be. But it's all good. Other than that, fitness operated online a lot already that time, like coaching in fitness and stamina. Strength and stamina was all about working online. So that was really inspiring at the time. And also I was taking scratch lessons by DJ QBert. He has an online platform already back then called Scratch University. So I was a student trying to learn how to cut. And at the time we were like, hey, shit, we don't have something like this for B-boys and B-girls. So we just need to make it happen ourselves. If nobody else is going to do it, then hey, might as well set it up.
Okay, so then, yeah, I actually have that here about Scratch University. So how long have they been around? And are they still active?
I don't know what...
Watching this and they feel like getting some online training in scratching and DJing?
Actually, I don't know the story behind it. It's part of a bigger platform that teaches different kind of instruments. So if you want to learn the guitar, the piano, or the turntable, you have everything over there at once. So I don't know how long they've been up. But yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from the way that QBert broke DJing down. And I thought it was next level. So wanted to do the same for B-boying.
Okay. And do you still DJ? I have here it says you DJ and you make beats, or you used to make beats.
I spent more time at it earlier. For the last year or year and a half, work has been keeping me busy.
Right.
Training breaking is something I don't want to take away from, but suddenly you realize like schedule is packed, so you gotta hack something away in order to keep up. I love DJing, especially parties. I love going digging. I love making beats, but lately I haven't had enough time really.
Okay, so it's taken a back seat.
Yeah, but that's the good side of it, is that can always come back.
Yeah.
Breaking with pushing the limits. I just turned 37 last week, so you must realize like 10, 20, 30 years from now on, breaking is going to change a little bit. But producing beats, man, music just gets better with time.
Yeah.
So you can always get back to it whenever the time is right.
Yeah, and we don't need the same kind of physical requirements for as we start to get older and our bodies break down a bit, and you can't necessarily do everything you want on the floor. You can still should be able to do everything you want on the decks, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think we get better as dancers. There's so much more things that our age and experience adds to the dance, like the soul and the feeling and the expression of the dance. You can't, if you see somebody in their 40s or 50s rocking, it's a different experience than somebody when they're 15 or 16. Just the life experience just doesn't show the same. But of course, the physical side kind of changes whenever you get older. Then there's some things that don't work the same no more.
Yeah. The mind is there, but the body can't exactly follow.
Exactly, but the flavor is like wine, man. It gets better with time.
Yeah, well, flavor definitely. I mean, I turned 30 last month, so and everyone gets older. I always say everyone gets older one day at a time, so no one's going to be young forever, and no one gets older any faster than anyone else.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
it. But there's hip hop is pushing the limits, man. I'm inspired by the older generation. Like I'm inspired by seeing Freeze. I'm inspired by seeing Storm,
Yeah.
Paul, Maurizio still going crazy. Ken Sway's crazy legs. Even Wicked just won the 40 plus battle in freestyle session last year, doing incredible stuff over there. So no matter how hard you feel like shit, man, time is taking its toll. Then the previous generation is still at it and staying active. So that's really inspiring, man.
Exactly. And
There's not many, but the few that are there, then gotta tilt your hat and say like, hey, respect y'all.
well, and really they should kind of command the most respect because already paid so many dues, you know, and to still be doing it is even more impressive, and it shows even more. Like we, in the other B-boys that I spoke to, and just generally something that we talk a lot about in our crew is like the kind of importance of longevity. And like our crew, for example, we're never going to win Red Bull BC1. We're never going to be like internationally known, probably, but we are always, as long as we can, we're going to be doing something, and that means a lot more to us. And I think that's how you tell me if you agree or disagree, but that's how you kind of lay the foundation for something that will exist much longer than just a short breaking career.
Oh yeah, man. The crew legacy is all about longevity and being active, being present, making things happen for others and representing. Like how many crews you know that made their name in competitions? There's Jinjo and that's it. Really. Pokemon.
Yeah.
But the crews that's name really holds weight, then it's all about longevity, man, and representing constantly year after year after year.
Yeah. Although there seems to be, I mean, related to that, the crew aspect of breaking does not seem to be, I suppose it's related to the rise of these big competitions. The crew, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the younger B-boys coming up are a lot less interested in being part of a dope or meaningful crew than they are building their own name. And I'm not trying to shit on that, but there's something that gets lost in that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The times have changed a lot since since the time of the Ellis crews. Like the crews that make the most noise in the biggest competitions are pretty much all our all-star crews and energy drink sponsored teams. You can have Red Bull against Monster in the final battle in the biggest battles of the world right now, and that is sad in that way, that it sets an example for the next generation, that the real crews, the crews that have more history than that, the crews that have chemistry and meaning and legacy behind them, they don't make it in the today's competition age. Yet most of the battles are still solo battles too. So really, I think setting example for the next generation as far as still holding it together, keeping it together with the crew and representing with the crew wherever we at. I think that's important. So I hope you guys keep up as well.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you guys have done a lot of work in that, you know, because of, like I said, how active you were in traveling, all of you guys, and just the work outside of the battles that you put in with your online presence and stuff like that. You know, we know you as not just Focus, but Focus from Flomo. Like that's a very, I would say that most people that know who you are would, at least 80% of them would be able to name your crew.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
And that was always whatever I've been doing in the scene, I've been always pushing my crew at the same time. I've never been pushing myself as pushing Focus only. It's always been Focus flow mode.
yes,
Never just Focus. I want to rise my people. If I get shine, then I want to give shine to my people as well. And because of them, I am who I am. Like the people around you make you. So basically, I think it's our duty to represent our families as well. And yeah, and of course, a lot of work besides competitions. If you see Flomo in a jam, then you see Flomo in the circles. You see
yeah,
Flomo battling outside of the competition too. So a lot of people just save for the competition and leave once they're done. But when Flomo is in the building, is felt.
right. And
And
at
of
the
course,
after
we make
party,
a lot
right?
of events. We make a lot of events. We run the studio too, and so it's not just online, but on and off the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things happening, not just competition battles.
Well, there's a lot more to the culture than just competition battles, right?
Yeah, and that's how you build your rep too. Just working for the community as well, like doing grassroots level work to keep the scene strong.
Yeah. Well, I think in a one of your videos that you dropped on your YouTube channel, you had said that you had planned to take a break from competitions in 2020. Obviously, that I imagine that you made that statement before coronavirus.
That kind of worked out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that is at all related to what we're talking about, your reasons for deciding that, or was it completely different?
That was because of being in a situation where I have battled in competition, entering competition for 23 years constantly, never taking a break. Even though being through a lot of injuries with the dance, always returning as soon as possible and battling year after year, no breaks whatsoever. I felt like this was the time and the year when I felt like this is not giving me that much anymore. Like it's taking more than it gives me. Don't get me wrong, I love the scene, I love going to jams and events, but at the same time, being on the floor, waiting for the bracket, waiting for whoever you're gonna battle, if you know the people or not, trying to impress the judges, because that's when competing, that's really what it's about, right? You try to make a good impression so the judges make you go further and eventually give you the prize money if you're lucky.
Mm.
I feel like I want to dance for myself, not for anybody else. I wanted to return the fun to the dance too. Like whenever I practice, I don't want to prepare for the fact that I have to please somebody else in a
Right.
competition. I want to do it because I love the music and I feel like that's right. That's part of me. That's what music makes me do, and
Yeah.
that's a completely different motivation. And really, that has brought back the fun to my training as well. I can train just as long as I want and do what feels good.
Okay. And so is that a difference then between when you were going to events in the late 90s, early 2000s where you didn't feel that same pressure to please the judges and to just be to have to wait, all the waiting that there is in modern competitions where you're waiting for your name to be called and stuff like that. I guess it wasn't really like that before.
No, the events have grown a lot, but at the same time, the hunger that time was just mad real. Like whatever happened, we didn't care. If we sleep on the floor, then hey, that was fine. We just wanted to make our name known and burn a bunch of b-boys and b-girls. So in that way, of course, coming with age and being there and being through it, then you know how it is, man.
Mm. So you're not retired from battling though. You're just taking it sort of as it comes, and next year you'll see. You might be entering some jams next year, or you're not like officially retired.
Not officially, no. You say never say never, right? So
Yeah.
basically, if the time is right, if we know the music is good, the DJs are on point, and the circumstances are right, then why not? I'm of course definitely down, but at the same time, a small break, little breather after 23 years, I guess is
Yeah.
well deserved.
Yeah. It's like you've earned it, right? You've kind of
Yeah,
paid your dues, and
I've
you've
earned
earned
my
it.
year, man. So
So
we'll see after this year how it's gonna be.
it's more about that. And what about the other members of Flomo crew? How many of them are still living in Helsinki or in the Helsinki area?
Everybody's in Helsinki. Some of the people have other obligations in life, families and work and stuff. So of course, every nearly everybody is over 30, some are over 40, and sometimes life realities kick in. But at the same time, we always still get together. There's the core people who train on a weekly and a daily basis, and then there's other members who we just catch up and chill and kick it, which is
Right.
just as important and maybe even more important at this time. Um, so I'm happy that we're in good terms and we're still connected. But at the same time, it's a few who come to the practice every single day and a bunch of people who take their time off and show up for the jams, which is fine.
Yeah. 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 It's like you can't expect everyone to be always as active as the most active person in the crew.
Yeah, not really. And that was really my first cruise. One of the mistakes that I did, I expected everybody to have the same hunger and the same fire. And of course, life doesn't work like that. So I guess respecting everybody's situation in life and really letting go as well. Like, all right, you show up when you show up is fine. And
Yeah.
that really brings back the fun to it again.
Well, and especially if they're people that you can hang out with outside of the practice spot. I think, you know, it's like if your crew is really important to you and you really are friends, then it's almost something bigger than breaking. Even once they dip out or become less active, you'll still want to see them and they'll still want to see you, even if it's having a beer or a coffee, and you'll feel that it's still kind of running through their veins.
Absolutely. Like if I stopped breaking right now, the crew wouldn't stop being around. Like I had my birthday last weekend, and I said to everybody, all of my friends, like I'm not gonna celebrate that this year. I'm gonna have a break from partying. But the crew showed up. The
Okay,
crew and
so
the
they
crew
didn't
only
listen.
showed up, so that meant a lot too. That meant that was really meaningful and powerful for me.
Okay, cool. So did you guys get down like, or you were just kind of hung out with each other, or a little bit of both?
We didn't get down, just quality time, just chilling over a couple of drinks and surprise party. Even though said to everybody like, no partying this year. I'm gonna have a
Right.
break, but nope, didn't work.
Okay. And any young up and coming b-boys from that part of the world, from Finland or around there that we should know about,
um,
or up and
well,
coming
for
crews?
the youngest member of the crew, Sparks, we battled him in last summer. Oh, he's the one who shows up to practice every single time. Whenever I finish training, he's always staying over there. So the most dedicated member in the crew. Gotta give a shout out to Sparks. Other crews behind besides that, there's a lot of ill up and coming b-boys. Um, Still waiting for the next flow mode though. But a lot of up and coming new b-boys. So I hope they stay at it. And like we spoke about longevity, like people come and go, but if you stay there for a decade or two, or three or four, then that's when your name starts to ring bells.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever think we speak a lot about all of the people that we've seen come and go, and I think how talented some of them were, and they were really cool, but they only hung around for a short period of time where you didn't really get to know them. And I almost wish I had got to know them more. And I think, God, I wonder if X, Y, or Z was still breaking, like how good they would be.
Yeah, yeah. But very often the most talented people, the ones who get it easy, they also disappear fast. The ones that work hard at it, the ones who fucking put their blood, sweat, and years into it, the ones that overcome the injuries and they're still coming back, they're really the ones that eventually are going to be remembered too. So
Okay,
even
so
though some people with a lot of talent, they get good quick, but often they also disappear fast.
and you think it's just because it comes a bit too easy to them?
Maybe it is, man. You gotta fight for something that you love if you really want to go at it. So maybe if it comes too easy, then maybe they're next on to the next thing real quick.
On to the next thing, yeah. Because, well, we had talked a lot about. I suppose it's partly personal what keeps people at it. You know, what keeps people continuing and coming back and coming back and I don't know if you even have to be a little bit crazy to keep doing it.
You do. You gotta be stubborn and kind of twisted in order to keep up with that struggle. Because it is a struggle, man. Getting back to the lab every single day is a constant struggle. Winning
Yeah,
yourself and your own limitations and overcoming your injuries and whatever it is, man. So I guess you gotta be twisted in some different way, but at the same time, it's the best struggle in the world.
yeah. Because I'm sure. I mean, it seems like everything is everything is rolling pretty good for you right now. But I'm sure there were times in the past where it was even more of a struggle, or perhaps much more of a struggle than it is now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, man. Been through a lot of ups and downs with the dance and personal life. And that's really what makes us and what we are today. So learning from past mistakes and overcoming, getting back on our feet and still getting back to the lab. That's really what counts.
Yeah. I don't know if that's even something that the younger B-boys should that it should almost be told to them like early on. It's like that it's not just getting all the moves really quick and then being really dope. It's like there's gonna be a bunch of times where you want to quit or you feel like it's not worth it, and everyone goes through it, and that is gonna come up. But if you really care about this, you will overcome it. I don't know if I think that could be a valuable thing for more young, like really younger or B-boys that are just starting out to hear, because I feel like sometimes some of those guys that are really talented, then something even like they get a girlfriend or something, and then they feel like they have to stop, and it's like eventually you are gonna get a girlfriend. Like you will have to learn that. It's like learning maybe as important as learning a move is learning how to juggle these things in your life.
Yeah, man. And I would say when I was getting into breaking, there was a lot more tough love. Like old school heads wouldn't speak to you for the first 4 or 5 years. If you're still around after 5 years, then
4 or 5 years.
then it was time for for discussion. But before that, you're just a toy that nobody cares about, and that's different, of course, right now. I guess tough love is a thing of the past in that way too. So I think the friendly scene is great as far as more welcoming and more opportunities for everybody. It's just a different environment, man.
Well, how do you approach it? I mean, given that if that's something that you experienced, I mean, do you carry any of that into your how you treat your young students now, or do you just completely just say, well, it's a different time and a different world, so you kind of leave any of that old school stuff at the door?
As far as teaching, I don't really teach basics or beginners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have to be on a certain level when you come to my class.
Okay.
I teach basics to grown-ups. There are different way of teaching as well. I teach basics to grown-ups, people in their 30s or 40s who want to give it a try. And the motive is different. They do it for the fun of it, for the exercise, for connecting with other people, or not really for the battles or the fame or whatever. So it's a fun way of teaching as well, getting grown-ups into what we do. But as far as others, I only teach the people who have been in the scene for a couple of years already, which is dope. But it's just a different way of teaching. Like if you start teaching kids, if you start teaching everybody who's just getting into it, I think it's super important, even more important work, because there's a lot of drop off. The drop off rate from people who get into the scene, you know how it is, like 1% are still back at it after 2 or 3 years. So I guess that tough love mentality that I experienced as a kid, then maybe that's there. Like you gotta work your way to my class. If you want to make it.
Yeah. Well, I
Take
mean,
the students from good to great, but the introduction is maybe done by other people.
Yes, I understand. Okay, I understand that. Okay, man. So I know you've got to run soon enough. So I don't know if you've got any last shout outs you want to do, or any last message you want to send to anyone that might be watching this.
I don't know, man. Thank you for inviting me, first of all.
Thank you.
Keep up with what you do. This is important. Like documenting whatever is going on in the scene is maybe the most important work that you can do. So respect for what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
Shout out to everybody tuning in. Check out my website, bboydojo.com. I do free stuff every single week, and it's all up there in the blog and the YouTube channel. So get involved, y'all.
Oh man, yeah. Thank you very much, man, for speaking with us. And salute to you and your whole crew.
My pleasure. Stay safe, man.
Cheers,
Stay in
man.
touch.
Later.
Peace.